Hello and welcome to the Lair. I'm Largo, Slayer, and today we're talking about our buddies the Boglins. And if we're going to be talking Boglins, then we should get someone who's probably more of an aficionado than me. So I've asked our friend, Mr. Ted DarkClaw, to come and give us a little insight into the world of the Boglins. Hey, Ted.
Largo, man, it's great to see you. Thanks for bringing me on for this, man.
Oh, it's a treat for me too, because I know you've been a fan of these guys for a long time, and I'm here to learn. So let's explore the lore of the Boglins if we can. So these guys are just a very unique part of the toy landscape. They don't really fit action figure. They're not really just a puppet. They're kind of their own thing and kind of unique in how they are played with and how they explore and how much of your Smirnoff they steal from the fridge. So we've got one here. This is one of the more recent alien Boglins. It's kind of a variant.
Yeah, so the alien Boglins, so it's believed that potentially the Boglins, while they were discovered, here on Earth, that they might have actually come from another planet. Not sure the backstory of that, what planet they actually came from, but it's believed that a long time ago, these alien Boglins landed here, and that's where this whole chaos actually began. So
I'm guessing there's a Uranus joke in there, but I'm going to leave that line. So again, welcome our guest, Ted Darklaw from Hella Dope. If you're not hella dope in your toys, well, you're just not hella dope. So check them out. They've got the good stuff. And this is King Wart, which is another of the royals. We'll talk about the royals here a little bit in a minute, but that's a face maybe a mother could love. I'm not sure.
oh, he's
But
beautiful, absolutely
yeah,
beautiful. Like the warts on his face, just those buck teeth, those cute eyes, man. I don't know why you wouldn't want to cuddle up with this guy at night.
indeed. He's got some appeal. So let's talk a little bit about where these guys came from and what they are. They are kind of a rubbery hand puppet. They're definitely creepy cute. I'll give them that. And
Sometimes a little more creepy than cute, but
yeah, they definitely have an interesting appeal. Originally created in the 80s, and I would say they have definitely gained a cult like following. There is, either you love them and you're obsessed with them, or it's like, I don't know. There's not a whole lot of middle ground with the Boglins.
I would agree with that. There's a lot of the Facebook groups that I follow, which are pretty much the same people. It's either the people specifically following the new Boglins line, the people that are following like old and new, and then the customizers. But they all kind of blend together, and it takes a special type of person to really love and appreciate and want to have a giant haul of these guys running around.
Fair enough. So there's a lot of unique features with these guys, and it all started with this guy, the King of Gross, as he was termed because of his Boglin love. Excuse me. This is Tim Clark, and back in the '80s, along with some of his cohorts that worked with Jim Henson, I believe, they
Yes.
created a couple of different unique creatures. He worked with Henson on, was it Dark Crystal
The Dark Crystal, that's correct.
and Fraggle Rock,
Fraggle
which is
Rock is
one that I remember. That was a kind of a fun one. And then went on to design this uh, the I don't know which one came first, the Centaurs or the Boglins.
yeah, the Sectars. I think
Sectars.
the Sectars might have been first. I'm not 100% sure because while I know my Boglin lore, I am a little out of the loop on Sectars, which I hear also may be coming back. So if there's anybody out there that's like watching this right now and it's like, how do you not know this? Don't worry, they're going to make a return, and I will get educated.
Yeah, the Nacelle company. I took a look at some of their RoboForce stuff when that came out. I believe they are doing Sectars, but I'm not exactly sure.
That is what I thought as well. I haven't heard any movement from that. But we'll be having a conversation with Tim Clark in a couple weeks, so I'm gonna definitely follow up on that one.
That'll be awesome. So, um, one of the things with this that I thought was interesting was he first brought the concept to, I believe, Jim Henson and said, "Hey, man, we're doing these great things with your what you're doing with your movies and television. Let's make some toys." And Henson was like, "It's a great idea, just not my thing." He just wasn't interested. And so Tim and I think a few other creators kind of struck out on their own and found a way to get these things to market. The Sectars, I believe, hit the market first, and then they were trying to bring in the Boglins, and then it gets a little fuzzy from there as to how that all played out.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Well, 80s were a wild ride, so
there was definitely kind of a gross out culture. I mean, you had Mad Balls, you had Garbage Pail Kids, you had just kind of this subgenre of gross stuff. The slime, I remember, was kind of popular during that time, much to the bemusement of parents who had shag carpeting or whatever. Yeah, but so there was definitely something going on in the culture, the zeitgeist of people wanting cute but creepy kind of stuff, and this just hit at the perfect time for whatever was going on in the culture, and they were pretty popular for a little while in what mid '80s.
yeah, it was so yeah, mid to late 80s, and it's unfortunate we couldn't play those old commercials because I feel like you'd get a copyright strike for it. But the
Yeah,
thing that Boglins had going for them back then were the actual advertisements on television. So it showed them being creepy, it showed them being gross, it showed them with their glowing eyes, and that was a huge selling point for kids my age back then, and something that I wish they would follow up with today. Bringing commercials like that back, but I'm not a marketing guy, so I'm
right.
not sure how
Yeah,
that would.
and I can't remember the last time I saw a TV commercial for a toy. Also, Boglins were kind of unique in the fact that it seems like almost everything in the '80s had either a cartoon or a movie tie-in or something. Boglins just had themselves and the few commercials that were popped up out there, and word of mouth. Um, they were only on American shelves for about 2 years, and uh, they just didn't really have long traction after that. But apparently, over in Europe, they were still wildly popular.
Yeah, they did really well there. They actually had different names in Europe, and I don't know what those names are off the top of my head. But for example, this is an original Drool here before he was royalty. So this is from the 80s. This one is actually signed by Tim Clark up here.
Nice.
Um, so I don't bring this guy out much because he is an antique at this point. And these guys are famous for kind of rotting away over time. But this one is still in amazing shape. And this is the exact one that I had as a kid. And you're right, they didn't last long because I had this guy here, and unfortunately, as a child, he was stolen from me, and I was heartbroken.
Oh
My parents
wow.
couldn't replace him because by that point they weren't on shelves anymore. They had moved on to different lines like soggy boglins and things like that, which were fun, but
Right.
wasn't the same as my old pal here.
Yeah.
But luckily, I did get this from the UK on eBay. A friend bought it for me back in like 2003, and I swear it's the exact same one that I had.
That's so cool.
But
Now
yeah,
the material they're made of has changed over the years. I don't remember the name of the material, but it definitely had a unique feel to it. The newer ones, they've kind of changed the formula a little bit, made them more resilient, I think.
yeah. So I have two right here. We'll pull out. We'll pull out. Crazy clown. So this is drool, and yes, this was a much softer. They call it foam rubber,
Hmm.
and it doesn't feel like foam rubber like it from your couch or anything like that. But that's definitely what it was made of. And yeah, they are softer. The problem is over time they just kind of got rot to them. So
Right.
the staying power of these kind of died off, and that's why it's so hard to find an original like this for a reasonable price. A lot of the ones that you find are all beat up, missing eyes, missing arms. They have the rot, the paint's all gone. So when they did redo them, it's still a foam rubber, but this is kind of more built to stay. So it's a little stretchier. They claim I can just pull on this forever. I'm not testing that, but that's what they claim. And, in 20 or 30 years, minus him probably being a little dirtier, I expect him to look exactly like this and not rotting away.
Cool.
But yeah, it's a little stiffer, whereas this is a lot softer.
Right.
Definitely feels like foam, and you can also feel kind of like the stick in there,
Right.
which was a trait that they always had.
Now, as far as their features, they're definitely kind of unique in the fact that they're made to be interactive. They're designed to be a companion. You can work the mouths, you can work the eyes, you can kind of work the eyebrows a little bit, give them some expression. How have the features changed over the years? Has there been much difference, or is it pretty much the same kind of design?
So the originals, like what I have over here, were pretty basic. Now their eye levers are a lot better. Let me pull this guy back out. I should just leave him out. So the eyebrow working is not as predominant, but it's a little bit stronger on here. And then the eye lever as well. You get pretty good movement out of that, and I can keep him looking one direction, and it's fine. And then there's the mouthpiece. So how this works is my thumb is here on this bottom lip. I got a finger on top, and then I can put a middle finger on the eye, and then he can just do that. And then their eyes would also glow.
Okay.
Which was very
so
nice.
the glow in the dark eye thing has been kind of standard over the years. It hasn't gone. Yeah. Okay.
And
so
then, well, with these newer ones, it's pretty much the same thing. The eyebrow does not work as well. It's just not something I've ever messed with. It's not a feature
Sure.
that I think is done well in these. You just don't get a lot of expression out of them. It does still have the same eye lever, but these eye levers are a lot looser, which causes them to like just kind of stay looking one direction. So I can put his eyes here, and they just roll back over. And I think, that's probably the biggest miss on these, is just these eye levers, because if you were feeling that one, it doesn't feel tight, but it doesn't feel like it's going to move. However, other than that, everything still applies. I can move his mouth. I can move his eyes. I'm not a big fan of the sound.
Right.
You can hear it a little bit in that one, but it's not as bad. But again, this thing's so loose, so if you move it, the whole thing rattles. But what's cool about this one, and this is one of the Dark Lords, that if I turned out these lights, this whole thing glows. So his eyes glow as well as his entire body. And this white paint is just perfect. I would compare it to a Motu Scare Glow as far as glowing power goes. And same thing with Bogabones. Amazing glow. So I think that's a nice additional feature, because my guy over here can't glow, and to my knowledge, none of the older ones really did that. So
Just the eyes.
Yeah, just the eyes.
Okay. So originally released in 1987, like we've been talking about, unique features of wiggling eyes, movable jaws, and arms. Each one has a distinct personality and backstory. Backstory is something that's kind of new, and came with a cage or crate that was part of the play experience. And we've kind of talked about that in the past, about the crate is just kind of a great value add, because it gives you a neat place to display them, but it also gives you a way to interact with them in the box if you want. If you take the hole in the bottom and you have them in the cage, you can use them in that way for extra play value.
Yeah, so I'll show right here. There is a hole on the bottom here, so you can take your Boglin while he is hanging out in his box, and which is awesome. I don't get to do this enough, but it is a lot of fun when you do want to mess with it, or show off to a little kid. But that was the whole point.
Yeah.
These are crazy monsters. You got to keep them in their cage, or else they escape.
That's right.
And that was one of the big selling points.
That's right. You got to put a lock on the fridge if you want to keep them out of your Smirnoff and your beer.
Absolutely. I have learned the hard way.
So let's see what we got here. Now this is something. Was this always part of the line where they had the bogologist field notes?
Yes, so this is the original one here, and they pretty much took the exact same thing and redid it for the new line, which I thought was a really good addition. Like they really kept the feel the same, and that's something I sincerely appreciate about it. But yeah, they would show off. So back then they had smaller Boglins here, which was a
Mhm.
line that they launched after some of these bigger ones. Shows off the glowing eyes, shows that they eat with their tails, and then just kind of does field notes as T. Clark discovered these boglins out in the bog lands in the bog somewhere, and it kind of just shows him documenting discovering these weird zany creatures and observing them and taking notes and eventually
Right.
capturing them and bringing them to our homes.
So it definitely written from the point of view of someone who is, maybe a cryptozoologist or whatnot, who's seeing these things in the wild and figuring out how to interact with them without getting too many shenanigans going on, which is
Yeah,
neat.
it really like added to the imagination when you're a kid. You get a monster in a box, and then you learn that he's coming from some weird bogland, and you can see pictures on there, and it really got you excited for more. Really good marketing device as well as just imagination and world building.
Right, because there's a whole family of these things and a hierarchy, which is kind of interesting. This is something new that Tim has put out, and each one of the Boglins, as far as I know, comes with one small piece of the map. So, like when I got King Vlob, I have one small square that has a portion of the map. So,
Yeah, so the map is new, and it kind of shows their territory. And I'm going to pull out a few guys here. Um, don't mind me. It's got boglins everywhere. So this is so many boglins, not enough space. This is King Dwark here. So they all kind of hold their own land, where I believe, if I'm understanding it correctly, King Drool kind of oversees everything. But they're kings because they have these three horns. These horns are a new feature. The horns weren't with the original releases. Um, but to become a king, you have to earn your spot. So once a year they come out. Well, there's two tails to it, but the one that I like the most is once a year they come out. They roll down hills and they headbutt each other, and they do this over and over until there's only one boglin standing with all his horns left. So this is King Dwark right here. So he is part of the Red Eye collection, and he is wearing a mask here. They wear the mask when they're rolling down hills and butting heads to try to find who's king, to hide their shame, so nobody knows who they are if they lose. So the
fair
uh,
enough.
the addition to the mass boglins was interesting. Now these are called red eye boglins, and I can get into why they're called red eye boglins in a little bit. But to
Okay.
become a king and to earn your piece of the map, you have to come out unscathed with all your horns.
So the number of horns denotes your hierarchy, where you fall in the pecking order.
Exactly. So I believe they regrow the horns. I'm not 100% positive on that. I believe like they just come back. So even if you lose 1 year, you have a chance to come back again and try to reclaim your spot. And it's all in good fun because in the end, while they do have shame for losing, they do celebrate the winner and they all just kind of laugh and fart and frolic around afterwards. So
Fair enough. So they don't take it too seriously, the whole who's ruling what. So the map is kind of interesting in the fact that you've definitely got seven distinct areas of the boglands. So I'm guessing each of these seven a king for its area, and then has minions underneath that. But how much of this lore has been put out there? Is this still unrolling as they're putting out new Boglins?
Yeah, so it's still going, and like I said, you do get a map piece for specific Boglins, mainly the kings, um, and there's kind of a biography of that Boglin. They all have their own unique personality. Some are all about jokes, some are all about farts, uh, and there's just that map piece that kind of leaves you wondering. And as you collect them all, you start to build the map. I don't have the full map, so luckily Tim Clark posted this not too long ago for all of us, so we could see the full thing. And there's some interesting portions on the map, especially that dark spectrum, and then at the bottom as well. There's new land that we haven't really heard of, where the soggy boglins live, which have not come out yet. But
Okay.
outside of what's on the map, there's not a lot of detail just yet on, what's specifically going on in each area.
All right. So you were saying something about the bottom section of the map here is some unexplored lands.
So they're in the 80s after the original Boglins came out and they were gone. They went with smaller Boglins and then released soggy Boglins. I believe there were three. I personally owned Slopster. I can't think the other two's names at the moment. One was a fish with a giant eye. They came in, instead of cages, they came in aquariums, which was really cool. But yeah, the bottom of the map hints that maybe down the road we might be seeing them make their comeback from the sea.
Interesting. So, as far as the heavy hitters in Boglin royalty, it seems like these are the three most prevalent at the moment. So, you've got Vlob, you got Drool, and you got Dwark, and they each have their own unique personalities. They're kind of specialities. Vlob's kind of the smarty pants. Drool is Drool. I mean,
Drool is the man.
yeah,
Personal favorite here. Love this guy. Love him. This pre-King Drool.
right. So they've kind of evolved and had some different color changes over the years, and their personalities have kind of been formed as far as the lore goes. How much of this is would you say? I wouldn't say different, but um, improved maybe from the original stuff. I mean, is it just more of a refinement? Is he just kind of tweaking the designs as he goes, or
Well, as far as their personalities go, all we ever really got was what was on the back of the box. And, they kind of just had their facial gestures that showed what they were. And then we had the commercials, which really didn't delve too deep into a singular Boglin personality. Although back then it implied that Vlob was more of the leader. I always felt Drool was the leader. So in the new era, it is noted that Drool kind of runs everything, and he is son of, I believe, Fergus, who controls all the seven kingdoms. So right now, King Drool is top dog. As far as that, like, this is the first time where you got details about their real personality, what their likes were, what their dislikes were. If you're hanging out with this Boglin, what are you going to get? It's going to be
right?
different from each one. So it was a nice addition.
Cool. And of course, the Dark Lords we've touched on. As you mentioned, they have that glow in the dark all over feature, which is really cool. Kind of a Halloweenish theme for some, like Blobkin and Bog O Bones.
Bog of
And
Bones.
Crazy Clown has become a fan favorite at Helidope Central. He's
Absolutely. So I don't understand why you couldn't love this guy right here. My wife hates him. I think he's amazing. Uh, Crazy Clown is new to the line as well. So they did have Dark Lords in the 80s, which was Blopkin and Bogabones. I don't think they glowed in the dark then, but I might be mistaken about that. I never owned one because they were really hard to find, and they go for really good money right now if you have an original in good condition. Um, but since we were talking about the map earlier, they also have a small piece of controlling land in there. While they're not necessarily kings, there's a black section on that map, and that is kind of where they hang. and on Halloween, they come out and snatch Boglin babies and take them to their kind of dark area of nothingness. So, in the Boglin community, the Dark Lords are to be feared.
Okay. Kind of a little sinister, but interesting. Very cool how they definitely have some unique features. And if you enjoy the Halloween theme stuff, these guys are right up your alley. And again, the glow in the dark. I'm a sucker for glow in the dark. That's a cool
Same,
feature.
same, absolutely, man. I will buy glow in the dark anything.
These are kind of an interesting variant. The Bat Boglins. These are new to the line. Are these something that came from the previous lines and has been reintroduced? How much do you know about the bats?
So the Bat Boglins were part of the original Boglins line. The They never came to fruition though. It was always something that was hyped, like, oh, this is coming soon, and then nothing. So when they relaunched the Kickstarter, this was definitely something sought after by a lot of collectors, and they recently released them this past year, the end of 2022.
Very cool. So basically, same size as the standard King and Lord Boglins, just with bat wings.
Yes, same size, same mold. They have flappy bat wings, which are a nice little touch, and they're fun. They come in their own cave style box,
Cool.
which is a little bit harder to get them into. I prefer the traditional cage style because the cave is very small, and trying to shove that wingspan in there can be a little tricky. But they are a lot of fun, and it's just something else that adds to it. As far as history goes, I don't know where these guys came from, but
Right.
we may find out soon down the road.
Fair enough. And another variant we've touched on briefly was the aliens and the idea that these guys may have come from someplace else. So this is Drizzle, definitely a derivative of one of the other designs. I like the colors are very neon, kind of outer spacey, which is cool.
Yeah, they did a nice job with the colors here, and very similar to the other boxes. If you flip on the back, it's the same design. And then instead of the cage, their design is a spaceship. And again, it's believed that maybe these little monsters aren't from Earth. Perhaps they came from another world, another galaxy, maybe another dimension. Who knows?
And then just found a bog here that they really like to hang out in.
Yeah,
Okay.
they found a nice spot to hole up in.
And these are something that is kind of interesting. Again, sucker for the glow in the dark. These are the zombie boglins. These will be coming out later this year, I think.
Zombie Boglins are due to ship in June. So pre-order windows just closed. We still have pre-orders available at hellodopetoys.com. We have a lot coming, but they did a small run of these. So I think each one only has 500 in the run. So smaller quantity caused the price to increase a little bit. However, they all have brand new eyes, and all of them glow in the dark and have that dastardly look to them.
Cool. These will be definitely interesting and kind of a unique. Looks like some of the sculpts are a little bit more unique as well.
So they are the same six sculpts. So they
Hmm.
have Sponk, Toper, Wart, and then the original three, Dwark, Drool, and Vlob. They will all have their own little zombie names. So when they do kind of reissue them in a different style, they change the name up a little bit. I don't know all their specific names, but we were all kind of hoping for maybe some new molds. However, when you have a company and a brand that's growing, sometimes supporting what you love and putting money into things like this helps us get newer molds like
Sure.
Sponk, Wart, and Toper, for example, were all new recent molds from the success of the original three. So
Yeah, we're definitely finding with boutique toy makers or smaller independents who are growing, Reuse of molds is absolutely necessary, but if you have some unique stylings, you can get some mileage out of those. I mean, we're definitely seeing that with Valaverse and some of the other lines out there that are slowly growing and adding molds as they have continued success. So very interesting. And of course, uh, my favorite use is to get these guys burning up the boulevard. They seem to go well with the new Boglin from Bratz fame.
Well,
Just a nice fit.
what's funny about this is proof right here of why we have to cage our boglins up at night, or else when you wake up, they're hijacking vehicles and lighting up the boulevard. You know,
Indeed, you just never know where they're going to pop up.
and those colors blend so well together,
They
so well.
do.
He's got style in that thing. He has good taste there.
Yeah, that's where he usually hangs out. He's got his own shelf with the Boglinmobile, and occasionally I'll see him pull one of the hotties from the Valaverse females over with him, and just got to keep an eye on that guy. But what got you into these back in the day when you were a kid? You're hanging out, you're looking in the toy aisle, and you see what?
So they were actually Drool was actually gifted to me on a Christmas day. And I don't think I knew what they were. My mother claims that I asked for one. I don't ever remember this because I remember being horrified Christmas morning, opening up this square box and there's a little monster in there. And I wouldn't even go near the thing for probably a good half hour. But once they kind of opened them up and showed me it was cool and the kind of fun that I could have with them, we were inseparable. I was not a my buddy type of kid. I was got to run around with the boglin, gross people out, burp, fart, scare people, pop up from around the corner,
Nice.
and that's where I fell in love with them. And I do recall seeing them in toy stores, and when Triaction brought them back and they were putting them in Walmart, I was really hoping for a nice end cap of Boglins. Walking by and catching a new generation the exact same way. You know, you just see all these little monsters in cages, brings curiosity. Unfortunately, Walmart didn't do very well with that. They put them in the collector's aisle, kind of with the
Mm.
NECA stuff and things like that. They would just have one or two out. And I don't think the kids got to see them as much because that's what this line needs. It needs more kids in it.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame because they're really geared towards interactivity with kids and getting imagination sparked. Plus, you got to have kid-sized mitts to get up inside of their and really manipulate them. They're not made for big paws.
I am blessed with small girly hands, so they work for me, but I can understand everybody else's dilemma with them. I don't know. Maybe my hands just stayed the same size as a child solely so I can continue to play with my boglin. Maybe he cursed me. I don't know.
Who
Friends
knows?
forever.
There you go. But yeah, I could definitely see the connection of once you've bonded with your boglin, and being your guy that hangs out with you, and someone you can blame for all those nasty odors and strange things that get broken around the house. It wasn't me. It was that guy.
Absolutely. Didn't close your boglin cage. Mistake you only make a few dozen times.
That's right. Now, does your love of the gross and creepy extend into any other lines, or is it pretty much boglin exclusive?
You know, I gotta say it's mainly Boglins because you named off a lot of things, especially like Garbage Pail Kids and things like that. I'm a big slime guy, but
Yeah.
outside of that, Boglins were really it for me. I did enjoy puppets a lot growing up, and I give credit to Boglins for that. But as far as weird and gross, that's probably the extent of it. But I get plenty of it from this guy right here. So.
How do they interact with the rest of your collection? I mean, do you have like a specific Boglins section of your collection, or do they just kind of intersperse where they will?
So I went so many years with just the one right here, and because as they were re-releasing things like Motu and Thundercats and GI Joe and all this stuff, I screamed to the sky, "Please bring me some Boglins!" And in 2020 they did. And what I didn't expect was where I was going to put all of them. So it's behind me here, and I did destroy half of it, but this wall right here is because most of them are sitting right next to me here. But yeah,
Right. So that's normally the Boglin wall back there. Okay. And I think you've muted your mic again. Oh, you knocked it over. Yep. No sound, but
okay. Now can we hear
there
me?
you are. Yep.
Sorry, I twisted the thing this time. I'm doing terrible at this.
That's why I went with the wireless mic. My desk is a disaster area. If I were to try to have a big mic like that, I would end up knocking it over or, tripping on the wire. So,
Yeah,
but
there's a lot of wires going on here, and I think I need to tidy this up a little bit. I'm learning a lot tonight.
it happens, definitely. But when did you get the opportunity to meet Tim Clark? Was this at a toy fair or how did that happen?
So Tim Clark was at PowerCon last year, 2022.
Hmm.
I went to PowerCon as a fan. There were a lot of amazing YouTubers there. Fwoosh, Shartimus, uh, Toy Galaxy, just the list goes on and on. But Tim Clark was really the drawing factor for bringing me in. And I awkwardly walked up and down his booth several times before I was finally able to talk to him, get some pictures with him. And then we actually had the opportunity to supply him with Boglins to sell that day. He had
Oh,
a toy supplier. He was selling Boglins at the table, signing autographs for them. He ran out, and we actually, my partner Aaron and I, we left, and we left PowerCon for like 2 hours, loaded up on some Boglins, brought him back to him. But I got to participate in watching his panel and hear kind of his backstory, and then I got to have some really cool conversations with him. And he signed my Boglin, and he said it looks absolutely amazing for its age. So, uh,
yeah,
pretty big compliment from the man himself. So
definitely.
it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend to be a Boglin lover.
And he's such a unique individual in the fact that one, he's highly creative, but the fact that he stuck with this toy line from its conception back in the 80s through ups and downs of getting it to market with different partners, um, and then going through the Kickstarter program to get it back onto the radar of toy collectors, and he's still going strong, promoting and coming out with new colors and designs and ideas. So that's there's a passion there, and it's cool to watch.
Yeah, he's at a point where he could probably just, let it all go and retire. And he keeps on that grind. He does the tours, he does the cons, he does shows. So he is out there actively promoting and still chasing that dream. When you got a fire in you, it keeps burning. So
Yeah. Well, they're definitely beasties, but are they baddies? I mean, they don't seem like they're really villainous. They're just kind of mischievous.
definitely
Is that
mischievous. Now you could say the Dark Lords may be more on the baddie side. Kidnapping baby Boglins in the middle of the night maybe isn't the most socially acceptable thing to do. But with your basic Boglin, like what I have here and what you have behind you here, they're just gonna, like I said, raid your fridge, dig through your trash, mess with your dog, lock you out of the house.
yeah,
Just anything for a good laugh.
sure. So they got a pretty good sense of humor. If it's a little warped, but it's it's there. What is the future for Boglins in your mind? What would you like to see? Blue sky? If are they? Would you like to see them bring back the little finger puppet mini Boglins? Would you like to see them come out with something else different in the line, or are you just happy where we're going right now?
So I like these. While I don't have so much space anymore, um, I would like to see more new molds come out. And they launched the Kickstarter at a rough time in life. It was during the pandemic and things like
Hmm.
that. Factories were shutting down, shipping costs went up. So the money that they had didn't originally go as far as what they thought it would. Um, and I don't really speak with Triaction outside of placing orders and things like that. This is just things that I've heard kind of inside conversations from Chris Cafani and my sales rep. But they for a while there they were going to have a brand new Boglin mold out every single month. Like I believe in 2021, they gave us a real nice tease of things to come, and it looked awesome. Each month you were going to get a new Boglin, and unfortunately that fell short. I'm hoping Zombie Boglins can turn that around, because I know as collectors we would like to get away from the same mold. I love Crazy
Sure.
Clown. I love Dwork. I love the alien version of him. I'm gonna love the zombie version of him. But it would be cool to see more things like Sponk and Wart and Toper, just something different. And get back into the soggy Boglins. Um, and then aside from that, get these into kids' hands one way or another. Find a way to advertise these to kids. We did a local toy show here not too long ago, and they were a huge hit with the kids. And I think that's what it needs to be. This is such an adult thing now because we're the only ones who remember it. Um,
Right.
the only way this survives is if it gets latched onto a new generation, or else 3 to 5 years, I might be screaming at the sky again, going, I
Mm.
need some more Boglins. I don't
That's a
know.
good point. I mean, how do you get kids excited about a toy line that, you know, has, had its run in the 80s and then kind of went away for a minute and now it's coming back? There's a resurgence there. It worked for Motu. I mean, with Motu Origins, it had cross appeal both as adult collectors and new kids coming into it. But I think maybe because there's so much more things in the market that, like the cartoon tie-ins and some of the other merchandising. What other Boglins merchandising is out there? I saw a Kickstarter for like a collectible card thing. I don't know if that went anywhere. I mean, there's T-shirts, stickers. What?
So the original Boglins with the Kickstarter, each one came with a pin. I don't have one hand me. They're all back there, but they're all little pins. They are technically supposed to come with each one, but when we get our shipments, honestly, they just get dumped into the box a lot of times, and they don't always match up. So we don't
Right.
always have the ability to send out a pin with each one. So we sell them separately. But the pins are really cool, and people that aren't fans of Boglins, that are just fans of pin collecting, uh, those are very popular. Uh,
Yeah.
Back in the day, they did have smaller size Boglins, and then they had Boglin eggs. I don't know if that's something they want to bring back. But you are right; they do have a Kickstarter for trading cards, in which they took a lot of independent artists, which I think is great, and had them do designs or interpretations of Boglins, Boglin lore, things like that. I don't know the status of that Kickstarter. I'm not a trading card guy.
Right.
Um, I also don't know. I don't know where the trading card market is, and I also don't know what Boglin fans feel about trading cards, because are they really trading cards anymore? Like you just kind of buy
Yeah.
cards, and we're not going to go trade them with friends. But if you're into unique Boglin art, I definitely recommend looking into that. But outside of that, they don't really have much else going as far as Boglin-esque things.
Well, there's definitely been an expansion of the lore with this latest uh, uh, version of the Boglins. Do you think they could carry, whether it's a webisode or a cartoon of their own? Do you think there's legs to that
I
or tails?
do. So prior to the Kickstarter launching, or maybe it was during the Kickstarter phase, Tim Clark does have a YouTube channel where he kind of made some videos where Boglins are actually making a return and harassing him, and making him feel like an absolutely crazy person. They ruin his fishing trip. They ruin his Thanksgiving. And I thought those were really cool vignettes. And I think from a social media standpoint, that's something that could go somewhere. So we're not maybe not talking about kids commercials anymore, but if all these kids are on YouTube, on their iPads playing games, silly little things like that, I think can really sell the product and kind of bring it back to the kids. But if you haven't seen those, check out Tim Clark's YouTube page. They're absolutely hilarious. I love them. Got me very excited for the return of Boglins.
Cool. I will. I'll look up that link and I'll put it in the description below on this video. So, for an age group, I mean, a lot of us adult collectors, we have nieces, nephews, grandkids. What's a good age you think to start somebody with a Boglin?
I would say, and I don't know if they have an age number on here, but I think 6 years old is perfectly fine. There's no small parts on there, and it
Yeah.
immediately breeds creativity. You're not on a tablet, you're not in front of a TV, you're running around, creating a character, creating a friend, and you're going off on adventures together, whether that's,
Yeah.
What's in the fridge or what's going on outside. There are some people in the boggling community that, do have children that make their own YouTube videos as well. The quality of that is what you would expect from, an 8 or 10-year-old with a camera making a boggling video. But I appreciate the sentiment of it because that's, again, exactly what we want. And I think it just opens up a whole new world. Puppets are amazing, just because Crazy Clown might be a funny jokester kind of guy, doesn't mean he also couldn't be a poet or a pirate. There's endless opportunities here when you have a puppet in your hand.
Right, and because they're definitely more of a monster type critter, scale isn't an issue. You can put them with anything. I mean, I've done some toy photography with them with my 1/12 scale. You could easily put them with 1/18 scale, or make them like kaiju size if you want them to smash Tokyo with Godzilla or whatever. I mean, so you've got lots of different options for how they interact with other toy lines, whether it's as a display or for photography, or just like you say, a kid's imagination where they can go with it. So that's another thing that I think should definitely be promoted. And that comes from us. We're the collectors, we're the guys who see these things. I would recommend, got a niece, got a nephew, got a grandkid with a birthday coming up, introduce them to the cute and creepy world of the Boglins. It only takes one. Maybe they have a friend for life. Maybe they adopt a whole slew of them. But got to start them with one. Enable. That's what we do as collectors. We enable other collectors. It's like, hey, check out this line. So, with this Beasties and Baddies episode, hopefully we have introduced some people to the world of Boglins and, piqued some interest. They're very unique. They're very interesting, and we'll see what sort of innovations come in the coming iterations. Do you know, like you mentioned with Hella Dope, you're going to have Tim on as a guest. Is that coming? Do you have a date on that yet?
Yes, so Tim Clark will be joining us Sunday, May 7th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it'll be about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just talking all about Boglins. And I'm going to press him about some of this because I need to know. I need
That's
to
right.
know what's coming around the corner. I'm not ready for this thing to die yet. I have 10 years left in me in Boglins at least. I'm going to be real mad if it's only 2 or 3 more years. So.
Fair enough. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't seen Tim in an interview setting like that, so it'll be very cool to see what he's got planned and some of his ideas for where this is going to go. But Ted, thank you for your time today. Thank you for sharing your love of the Boglins. These guys definitely have a home here with Beasties and Baddies. They fit right in with the theme, and I'm glad you shared some of that with us today.
Well, thank you for having me on. And if you're interested in adopting a boglin like a crazy clown, you can find us at helladopetoys.com. We have plenty of boglins available, and zombie boglins will be shipping in June. You can put a pre-order in for that if you're into glow in the dark or gross things as well. So,
Yeah.
but I really appreciate being on here and talking about this. Nobody listens to me about this, so the fact that I got like a good 45 minutes to just unload a little bit and be like, where boglins come from, it's like this has been great, and I really appreciate it.
Cool. I had a lot of fun with it. We will put a link for Helidote Toys in the description below for this video as well. And it'll be very cool to see what's coming for Helidote Toys in the future. I know you guys have got some other great guests, Tim being among them. So, with that, I will uh, sign us off, and I'll catch you in the near future.
Bye, guys.